Hey neighbor, we're all in the middle of growing our tomatoes right now. Today we're doing a deep dive in some things you may not know, or we're going to talk in depth about tomato fertility. Welcome to the Row by Row Gardening Show, the best dadgum gardening show on the internet, where we talk about gardening, a little bit of cooking, and growing your own food. Now sit back and enjoy. I'll tell you, I got the prettiest tomato crop now I've had. Of course, I normally have a good pretty tomato crop, but I've got a wonderful looking tomato crop right now. Everything looks good. Fingers crossed. I got one weird tomato I'm growing that's showing a little signs of some disease, but it's okay right at the moment. We're taking it day by day.
What about all this rain?
All the rain's made them grow like crazy. Crazy. I've been keeping them sprayed. So disease issue has been a non-issue, except for that one showing a little bit of wilt problems. And it is one of those old heirlooms I'm just trying to grow, so that's normal. But it's still surviving.
Some of our customers are worried about the rain.
Yeah, the rain can play havoc. And that's one reason you want to make sure your fertility is good. You want to make sure that plant is healthy. You want to make sure that you stayed on the fungicide program for when these type scenarios roll in and you get 2, 3, 4, 5 days of rain. You want a good, healthy plant to be able to withstand that. If you don't have a good healthy plant going into that, you can definitely come out of it with some troubles. So that's where we're at. Garden in general is looking really good. I mean, we've had somewhat of a dry spring, and with the drip irrigation, we got a hero looking garden right now. So we'll see how it rolls out. My watermelons is as pretty as they've ever been.
I saw little green beans yesterday.
Green beans, I got a watermelon. I just seen one go that big. Yep. Tomatoes this big.
Yeah.
So fingers crossed we're gonna have a good year. I mean, the last thing we need is a storm roll in here and cause some damage. But if that happens, we'll lick our wounds and go on.
I saw where the Stivers had a bad hailstorm.
Hail is a damage you can't hardly come back from. If you ever see that storm come up and you feel that blop, blop, blop on your roof, I always think, man, this is bad. We've been lucky here. We got flowers. Good gosh, the flowers.
Zinnias.
Zinnias, yeah.
Are gorgeous.
Yep.
Yep.
And look here, y'all squash is coming in like crazy. I'm having to pick my squash every 15 minutes.
Those ain't real pretty, but they taste pretty good.
I've made the most squash this time. I didn't plant that much squash. We can't give them away. And I joke about having to pick them every 15 minutes, but it does seem like I'm out there twice a day picking squash.
No squash bugs, no
No squash bugs, no problems whatsoever. Now, my squash in my raised beds did not do as good as the ones in ground. That's normal for me because I'm a better in-ground gardener than I am a raised bed gardener. But we've been eating squash, and I've not got tired of them yet, but I've enjoyed them. But this is your new way of cooking squash.
Yeah, in the air fryer. So just salt and pepper, dust them with a little bit of flour, spray a little olive oil on them. I might have put too much pepper on those.
A little peppery. Delicious.
Better warm.
I can make myself sick off fried squash.
But a little bit healthier, not being fried in the oil.
All right, let's get into tomatoes, okay? Tomatoes are the most popular crop grown for the home gardener. Did you know that?
No.
It is. More people want to grow a tomato than do any other way. Now, they are short little tomatoes, and I've actually got some, believe it or not. I did this as a test. I bought some miniature patio tomatoes off of QVC. And I got them in and potted them up, and they're doing really good. I think I know what varieties they are. I'm doing this all as a test to see how their packaging was and everything. But you know, a lot of people can grow patio tomatoes. We've got to the point now, some of the breeders, and we've got our own series of Rosy Finch, Yellow Canary, and Red Robin, of these miniature dwarf tomatoes here. If you don't have a lot of room, you can definitely grow those. I love to grow some of those and give them away. So I'll grow them and put in little root pouches and give some away from time to time. But it's gotten to the point where about anybody can grow some type of tomato. Some of our cherry tomatoes are easy to grow. Most of them are indeterminates. We do have a few that are determinates, but a lot of people love to grow cherry tomatoes because we snack on them. But what does old Hoss here love? A good slicing tomato for that tomato sandwich. That is my most favorite thing, is a good tomato sandwich. So we focus on slicing tomatoes. We do grow some aromas from time to time, and we love our snacking cherry tomatoes. Growing the right variety is really important for your area here. I had a lot of conversations the last few days, people telling me about different varieties they like to plant. And in different parts of the country, you will see a lot of people planting different types of tomatoes. We're partial to the cicada varieties, particularly the red snapper, the halcinators, and the roaster, a lot of those, because those seem to do really well for our area. They do good for most areas up the East Coast, but there are some people up the East Coast that like to grow some of these weird varieties. I actually saw a post on one of these large gardening groups on Facebook, and they said, list your top favorite varieties. And there was, 50 or 60 different comments. And I went through there looking at people's varieties. Most of them were old heirloom varieties, which I get. Old heirlooms are, nice to grow. They are a little bit more finicky. So how do you make sure that you grow the perfect or the near perfect tomato plant? First of all, is make sure you get the right variety of your area. Second of all, let's plant it in a good sunshiny spot, and let's plant it in springtime after danger of frost. And let's don't use direct seed. Let's plant plants. Let's grow our seeds indoors in a greenhouse, or buy your plants and plant them in the ground there. Let's plant them after danger of frost. Now, at the point, what do? How do you keep that plant
How do you get
healthy?
them to maturity?
Yep. One of the biggest things we see is people try to starve their tomatoes. They don't feed them enough. What you want on a tomato plant is a nice, dark green, healthy bush. And that's the indication to get your nutrient levels all right. So we want a pH in between 6 and 7. That's really important that you have your pH right, because if your pH is not right and you put all this that we tell you to put out today, you're not going to do any good, because it's going to tie those nutrients up and not going to be available to the plant. So number one is have that pH in order. Number two is understand fertility requirements for tomatoes. With our tomatoes, we have, with our fertilizers, we have the 3 numbers. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this right here, for example, here. Y'all see that 20-20-20 on this bag of fertilizer here. Those are our 3 main nutrients for tomatoes. All right, the 20 on the first was nitrogen, and then the middle one was phosphorus, and the last one was potassium. For tomatoes, what you want is a combination of a 3-1-3. I'm giving you this, and if you get confused, stop me, because this can be a little bit confusing. I want to make sure I explain it correctly. In conjunction to how many of these nutrients ratio you need for a tomato plant would be 3-1-3. Does that make sense?
No.
All right. So you need, of these 3 nutrients here, you need 3% of nitrogen, 1% of phosphorus, and 3% potassium is going to fill the needs of that tomato plant for your 3 major nutrients.
So you wouldn't put the 20-20-20 on them?
Get a little ahead of me there. All right, so that is our fertilizer requirements for that tomato plant, is a 3-1-3. So if you was growing in a sterile medium that didn't have any fertility load, you would want to use something like a 3-1-3 or a 10-3-10. But that's not the case with our soils. Our soils are actually able to have some of these nutrients already in them. Now with nitrogen, the first one right there, we can't load up our soils, or we can't have a stockpile of nitrogen in there, because nitrogen moves quickly and it's gone. So we have to add all the nitrogen for that tomato plant. However, that middle one there, we can have adequate phosphorus loads already in our soil, so we don't need that. And then our last one there is potash. We can also have adequate numbers of potash in our soil so that we don't have to add it. Not quite as stable as our phosphorus is, but let's just take for granted in our soils we had a high phosphorus level and a high potassium level. Theoretically, all we would need of this right here would be the nitrogen. So now that's the reason it's important to understand your load in your soil, what you got there, and you can kind of balance according to that. Now what we recommend on our fertilizer growing guide is using a pre-plant, we don't even have the complete organic here, do we? Of the complete organic. And I like the complete organic because it's organic fertilizer, but it has 9% calcium in there. That helps load the soil up, get the microbes working. And once that plant comes up, we like to hit them with the 20-20-20. Because in our soils, we have a pretty good phosphorus and pretty good potassium load. But this gives us a little bit of a base of all three there to kind of help everything go along.
About 2 weeks after planting, hit them
About
with
2 weeks after, we like to hit them with a little bit of this right here. Then, after that, we like to hit them with a straight nitrogen. And a straight nitrogen is because we've got levels of potassium and phosphorus in the soil, so we need to give them some of the nitrogen. And I love the calcium nitrate because it also gives the calcium in there to the plant. Now what calcium does to the plant, it helps build cell wall strength. This can be to the fruit and also to the leaf of the plant, but what we're primarily wanting to do is getting it to the fruit to help with that blossom end rot, to build that cell wall strength, not have blossom end rot, because blossom end rot is a deficiency of calcium. That could be caused by several different things. Although we're giving the calcium to the plant, it could be caused by several things that keeps the calcium to get to the fruit. So that is what I like to do, is add the calcium there, and then we like to add some of our minor elements, as is the microboost here, which is sulfur, boron, copper, iron, manganese, and I ain't got my glasses on, zinc. All right, so this gives a little bit, and we don't need much of this, but it gives a little bit of everything that's to kind of finish out the medium. All right, so let's get into the dirty little subject of calcium. And I'll tell you what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna use this right here. We got gypsum there that does the same thing, but I'm gonna use this product because this is a new product. There are 5 different nutrients that you really need to be concerned about with your tomato fertility. We went over nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. The other 2 are going to be calcium and magnesium. Calcium, we just told you how important it is to get calcium to that plant for that blossom end rot. But a lot of people out there get confused about magnesium. Magnesium is important to the tomato plant. And I'm going to show you a picture right here of what magnesium deficiency looks like. So if your plants look like this right here, you could have magnesium deficiency, and you need to add a little Epsom salt to your plant to take care of that. We, in our neck of the woods, we don't have magnesium deficiencies in our plants. I do not ever remember seeing magnesium deficiency in any of our gardens.
What would you see if you did?
You would see this color, this picture right here.
Oh, okay.
That's got this yellow of the leaf there, and it has the green veins in there, real similar to what iron deficiency looks like. But that is a telltale sign that you got magnesium deficiency. It's a yellow casting of that leaf right there. We don't have that problem because we have plenty of magnesium in our soils. So never do we ever have to add magnesium sulfate because we just simply don't have it. We also have high calcium levels in our soil. Calcium and magnesium compete with one another. So the last thing you want to do is add magnesium when you don't need it, because it's going to displace the calcium from your plant. We see this on gardening videos all the time out there. We see it on Facebook and everything. People talk adding Epsom salt to your tomatoes. You're doing more harm than you are good if you're adding it, you don't need it. It is important, but if you don't need it, don't put it out there. Calcium, on the other hand, we have calcium in our soils, but it's not always readily available. And we have to force feed our tomatoes a little calcium to make sure we get enough calcium to that tomato to keep that blossom end rot away. So that's the reason calcium is important, magnesium is important, and those other 3 I just mentioned is important. And that's what I characterize as our 5 major nutrients for tomatoes is. Tomatoes are heavy feeders. We have to feed them a lot to get that nice green color to them, make those nice plants, but we don't want too big of a plant. We want fruit development, and we also want some good, nice fruit on there. And some of these minor elements, although don't take much of it, is really important. Boron's important, but just don't take much of it. That's the reason a good micronutrient dilution such as MicroBoost will help you fill all that out and you don't have to worry about it. So let's talk about calcium. We've already explained to you the fact here is you be careful with your magnesium application because it's going to mess up your calcium. What I like to use pre-plant is our complete organic. It's got a 9% calcium in there, which is an organic source. We're getting calcium in our soil at that point to make it available to the plant, but yet it's got to be broken down somewhat before it's available to the plant. It's not really readily available at that point. It's kind of got microbes got to work their thing. As soon as I see first bloom set, I'm going to use these two products right here. Either one of them is okay. Now this is a granular product right here that you can put around the base of the plant, and when it gets wet, it readily dissolves and goes into the plant. That calcium moves up through that plant to that fruit and does its thing. So if you're not using drip irrigation, or you just want to be a little lazy and you just want to go out there and put this on there, I've used it for years. It works wonderful. Now, put it all the way to the base of the plant. Don't just put it on one side. Put it completely around. You're not going to use too much of it. It's not going to burn. It's going to help you dramatically. We have come out with this new product this year that has this hose-in sprayer on them right here. And you can use this. Now this right here, you would hook up to your water hose right here, and you would shoot this at the base of your plant so it's taking it through the root system. Same way as this, you want to do all the way around the plant, but this gets in there a little bit quicker than this does. Now, I don't know that I recommend this for somebody that's got a 100-foot row. If you've got 10 to 20 tomatoes, this is the easiest way to get calcium to your plants.
How often do you do it?
I do it every 10 days. If you've got a lot of tomatoes, you probably want to use gypsum. It's probably a more economical source.
Is that every 10 days too?
Yeah, 10 days to 2 weeks. You get by a little bit later with it, longer with this, because it is a granular product. It's going to sit there. This, once you put it on there, it's immediately washing into that root system being took up. So this is quick right here. Still want to do it at bloom set. So you got calcium in there to do its thing. That's the main thing. Calcium's also important. Helps build leaf structure, cell wall leaf structure, to help those diseases fight off on your leaf there.
Especially the blossom end rot.
Well, it helps with the fruit with that, but it also helps with the leaf, with any kind of leaf disease. You may want helps that leaf be a healthier leaf. Tomatoes get a multitude of diseases on them. Mm-hmm. We got the wilts, we got the blights and all that out there. A good way. Let me see if I can get it here. Now this is a unique product right here, folks. It came out back in the, I think this actually come out during the early 90s. This is a biological fungicide here that helps with blights and actually helps with wilts also. You can spray this as a foliar product, works fine. I like to use it better as a soil drench. I tell you how this would work good. I didn't even thought about this. After you get to using your calcium and this thing's empty, put you a jug of this in there and spray this at the roots for a drench system for your tomatoes. That would be a great way to put this right here out. Put it in with plenty of water. What happens is, this is a beneficial, make sure I get my wording right. It's a beneficial fungi that colonizes on the root system. It helps prevent from all those unwanted diseases that we have out there. It is OMRI certified. It is organic product right there. It has a weird mode of action, but it does work extremely well. Works on blights as well as wilts. So that's a good product there. When you get into, your plants get a little bit bigger and maybe you're running into a little bit more insect problems or blight problems, I like to use this product right here. It's one of my favorite products to use for blight. Also works on your leaf spots, but blights I think is its thing. I put this on there about every 2 weeks. I rotate with another, but I put liquid cop at least every 2 weeks on my tomatoes right there, and this helps fight off that early blight and late blight. It's the best product we have for blights right there. And then when we move on from there, on some of your worms and things like that, this is organic product, spinosad. This works good on your hornworms and things like that, so it's a good one to sprinkle in there. You can actually mix them two together right there, which I do a lot of times. But that helps take care of a lot of your problems. Thrips can be a problem on tomatoes. A lot of times we see that. We have a product called Takeout that would work on that. So there's a whole multitude of problems you can have, but start out, folks, by getting your fertility right on your tomatoes.
What about the potash? What'd you bring?
Oh man, the potash, okay. I'm glad you brought that up. So I did mention a moment ago that we have adequate amounts of phosphorus and potassium in our soil. And we really don't have to do these weird analysis of fertilizers. However, if you don't have adequate amounts in there, then you're gonna have to do something kind of a little different here. So let's just say that you do a soil sample and you got high phosphorus levels, which most people do, and we know we don't need a lot of phosphorus. We need 3 times the amount of potash that we do phosphorus, but you're showing a low potassium level. You can take a product just like this right here, sulfate of potash. Now this is 50%, so it doesn't take a lot of it. You can add this to your tomatoes, and this right here is going to give you the adequate amount of potash in there to have that nice healthy plant.
What if you put too much?
You don't want to do that. You can burn with too much. Just like with any fertilizer, you can burn if you get too much. Instructions here on the back showing what to do and how much of it to put out there. It can rate, the application rate can vary according to how much you have in your soil load, anywhere from 1 to 10 pounds per 1,000 square feet. But a little bit goes a long ways because it is 50%. Potassium is extremely important to tomatoes, and I think that's where a lot of people run into problems. If they don't have an adequate load in their soil and they don't add anything such as sulfate of potash, then they cause stress to their plant because they're not feeding it correctly. Got to have that well-balanced diet. Remember again, 3-1-3. You want 3% nitrogen to 1% phosphorus to 3% potassium. So theoretically, it takes just as much potassium as it does nitrogen. But we can bank up potassium in our soil where we can't bank up nitrogen in our soil. Mama Hoss, did you get all that?
I got half of it. That's why I got you.
I hope that makes sense. So it gets a little confusing sometimes, but I hope it makes sense sometimes, sense to you. Because the fertility is one of we get letters and emails all the time. People show me a picture of a tomato and won't know what's wrong with it. Well, it's starving to death. Heavy feeders, they take a lot of fertility. This idea of growing a tomato naturally without any fertilizer, you're just not going to do it. I mean, tomatoes love fertilizer, but you got to have the right amount of it in there. And folks, be real careful with that magnesium sulfate. All right, how about that?
Sounds good.
Sounds good. Make sure you do your micro boost. Make sure you keep on your disease program. One more thing before I go on this subject. With weed control in tomatoes, I'm going to tell you a little secret that we use here a lot of times. Very seldom do I go in there and pull weeds on tomatoes. I might pull my soil up and I hill them. I cover those weeds up. What that does is it takes those weeds out by covering them up, smothers them out, but it adds soil to that tomato plant, makes the plant a little bit stronger, but it'll also put root system out in that soil there. So you can get by with doing that on tomatoes. For some crops you cannot, but I just heal to them, have me a nice mound there. If it does come in and rain for a few days, that mound's gonna, dry out. It's not gonna be like it's down in a hole. So I do like to mound up my tomatoes there when I'm
What about mulching? You don't?
I personally don't. Some people do, but I don't mulch mine. Now I'm having to string them.
Yes.
I got to string them. I'm using metal T-posts this year, and I'm having to string them every 3 or 4 days, seems like. I had to get out there yesterday afternoon, do some of them. This afternoon, I'm going to have to finish them up. So they are growing like crazy right now, especially my indeterminates. But there you have it, folks. There is some tomato information for you. Maybe that helps you to grow a big tomato. All right. We are sold out of asparagus.
Okay.
We are sold out of plants. We're through our plants, but we still have turmeric. We have a little bit of turmeric left. Now, I'm going to tell you something about your turmeric, and you can back this up. If you've planted your turmeric in the last couple of months, because we've been selling this stuff since March, it is sit there in your soil, but it's getting to the temperatures now that it's going to start sprouting and coming up. So if you're one of them people that don't have a lot of patience and you want to plant something that come on up, right now is the time for you to plant your turmeric, and it will bust out and come on up. See that little sprout there? But if you planted it 6-8 weeks ago, Don't
It's gotta
stress
wait
it.
till it gets about 70 degrees.
And it's going to come up. But if you have a spot in your garden that's maybe got a little bit of shade, that you have troubles growing something else, turmeric is going to fit the bill for that. And you can grow your own turmeric, make your own medicine.
Dehydrate it, freeze dry it, grind it up into a powder, and make your own. Add a little black pepper to it.
And the black pepper is for
Absorption.
Yep. So we still got a little bit of turmeric, folks, if you want to get that. All right. We have got old goat.
Garden spotlight.
Garden spotlight first. Oh my goodness.
Get ahead. You get excited with all this
I know.
fertility, don't you? Is Joe Weldon, Dudson, Louisiana, Zone 9A. It says, thank you, Greg, for providing good quality products. Since I retired, I started gardening and having great success following your advice with good seeds and planting trays. I thought I'd share my onion plants, which survived a 5-degree temp
Wow.
and under 10 feet of snow.
That looks like Bidoras right there. They look pretty.
Says, I hope to make the trip one day and meet the man himself.
Ah, come on down. We'll be glad to have you.
Thank you, Joe.
Look, we got a new sticker coming out for next month. Look at that. Ain't that pretty? They just give me this just about 5 minutes before we did this. I want to show everybody. My bunch here, Carrie, does a wonderful job with these stickers. We stick them on our water jugs and everything else. Look at there. Ain't that pretty? She is awesome
That
with the
one's
stickers.
for June?
I think so, for June. Yep. All right, so old goat.
Jamey Avery.
Jamey, send us your shipping address to,
Support at growhouse.com.
and we'll send you a pair of the Get Dirty socks. Now, Jamie's the winner of the old goat from last week. She found the old goat. Put in the comments below, and we just drew her name. If you find the old goat on the set here
How
somewhere,
do you know it's a she?
well, it's spelled, it may not be. It was just spelled Jamey. May not be, may be a him. Anyway, if you find the old goat on the set here somewhere, put in the comments below, and you'll be in the drawing for next week's winner of.
Get dirty socks.
All right, folks, thank y'all for joining us. It's that time of year when the garden's just busting at the seams.
Weeds everywhere.
Weeds?
Weeds
I've got mine looking pretty good.
with some help.
Yeah, it is looking pretty good, but we've got a new guy that's graduated ABAC and has started with us. His name is Evan, and Evan is helping me out in the garden a lot. Evan loves to garden just as much as I do. Now, Evan's young. He just graduated with his bachelor's degree in agriculture, and we're having to work through some issues. Evan, his professors taught him some stuff that Hoss don't necessarily agree with, but we're having to re-educate Evan on a few things. But he's coming along. He's got a love for gardening, which is what I love about him. He's wanting to learn, and it's exciting to be working alongside out there with Evan because I'm still learning as well. All right, thank you folks for joining us. Now it's time for you to get outside and get your hands dirty.